Hi, welcome to KJ and Tony Move to France. Today we're going to share with you 10 tips for visiting Paris. And I think we're going to jump right in. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Tip number one is to bring a comfortable pair of shoes. Paris is a walking city. It's a great place to just go. Just even have the thought in mind that you're going to get lost, because that's how you find off the beaten path kind of places. I remember several times when I would say to you, I'm just going to go for a walk and get lost. And I'd find great restaurants that way. I'd find bookstores that way. It's just a great thing to do in Paris. And on top of that, it's great exercise. When we were there for the month, we were walking like 5 miles a day. And that allowed me to eat whatever I wanted because I was getting all this exercise just by walking. And through Google, you can easily figure out how far you are from one place to another.
And tip number 2 is to take advantage of the numerous walking tours that are available in Paris, which flows from tip number 1, which is definitely bring yourself a couple of pairs of comfortable shoes, because that's what I need to do. You might have that one pair of like really comfortable shoes. I would suggest you bring at least 2 pairs of comfortable shoes because you will be doing a lot of walking. And we suggest that you take advantage of one, if not several, of the walking tours.
And don't think that you can break in a new pair of shoes that you think,
I did that.
I've bought this before and they're very comfortable. So no, that's not the thing to do here. You want to bring well-worn shoes that you know are comfortable.
We had the experience where I was wearing like these little boots, which are my most comfortable pair of shoes. So that's why I wore them, because I'm thinking these little boots are so comfortable, they're great. But by the time we got halfway down the Champs-Élysées, I was going into the Adidas store to buy myself a pair of sneakers. So definitely want to think about your footwear when you're visiting Paris.
And a little bit more about the walking tours. The first weekend that we went there, we actually took a tour that was on a Saturday morning, and it lasted from about 10 in the morning to about 2:30 in the afternoon. And for not a lot of money, as I recall, it was about 35 euros, we saw every major monument in Paris. Now, did we get to spend a lot of time at them? No, not on that walking tour, but that wasn't the intent because we were only there for the weekend. But we got to see a lot of different things in one walking tour. So a lot of things are within walking distance from each other in Paris.
And if you have limited time in Paris, like we did that one particular time when we were there, definitely take advantage of the tour that takes you to all of the major monuments in the 4.5 hours. Because like Tony said, that's what we did and we loved it. It was excellent.
Tip number 3 has to do with when is the best time of year to visit Paris. We all want to be there in the summer, right? But it's very crowded then. So we suggest what they call shoulder seasons. Spring, fall, those are very good times to come because the weather is still good, it's warm, and there's less crowded monuments, and you can get to see everything that you want to see. I have to say, though, that the holidays, Christmas and New Year's, is also a great time to be there, but it is more crowded and more expensive, and you have to put up with the weather. So.
Yeah, and something that a lot of people don't realize is that it rains a lot in Paris, especially I think the month of October. October into November is considered the rainy season. Be prepared. I know people who have gone to Paris and it's rained the entire time during their stay. So you might want to think about that as well, even though there's just so much of that you can control and that you can predict. And I would say that regardless of whether it rains or shines, Paris is a beautiful place to visit.
I remember our second trip to Paris was October 16th. And you had said that you read that Paris's rainy season is October. And on the day we got there, it poured and we got drenched, but it was still beautiful.
It was
still
great.
Paris.
Absolutely great. Tip number 4 is to plan out where you're going to stay in advance. And you might be saying to yourself right now, KJ, who doesn't plan out where they're going to stay in advance? But that's not what I mean. What I mean is when it comes to Paris, as we shared in our video last week, there are 20 different districts. They're called arrondissements. And you are going to want to take your time to find out about the arrondissements. You can check out our video because there are different sites and features in all of the different arrondissements. So planning in advance the different sites that you want to see, where you want to go, will then direct you to a hotel that's centrally located wherever it is that you want to go and what you want to see. So of course, depending upon the number of times you've been to Paris, if this is your first time in Paris, if you've been to Paris multiple times, then of course you're going to want to look and see, okay, we're here for 5 days. These are the different things, the different attractions I want to go and visit, because you cannot see Paris in 1 week. I don't think you can even see Paris in 2 weeks, not even in a month, because we were there, living there for a month, and also going back and forth from Versailles for 2 months, and we still aren't even close to seeing all of the attractions in Paris. So definitely take some time to map it out in advance, pick the different sites that you'd like to see, and then choose a hotel that is centrally located based upon the sites that you want to go and see. And also another tip is to write down, when you get there, write down the name and the address of your hotel and keep it with you, because this may seem like, well, who needs to remember? But trust me, I have forgotten the names of like hotels, and maybe this is only an older generation problem, but
also if it's in your phone and you lose your phone or your phone goes dead, then you need a backup, and it's just simply a backup. That's all.
Just a precaution.
Yeah.
Make sure you know the name and the phone number and the address of your hotel. You may need it.
Tip number 5 has to do with electricity. If you're going to Paris from North America, you have a certain plug on your hair dryer or your shaver or anything electronic that you might bring, even your charger. Make sure that you get at least one, if not 2. I'm somebody who overbuys. I buy 5 or 6, but I would say buy 2 in case one of them fails, or if you're traveling with someone else, you can both use them at the same time. And these are adapters that allow your things to go into them and then plug into the wall there, because their plugs are round, ours are flat. Okay, so get 2. They're inexpensive. You can get them on Amazon for about $6 each. You can even get like a packet of 6 for like $20. Amazon is a good place to go for that.
And even if you're traveling alone, it's still recommended that you get at least 2, because you'll have different items like a laptop and your cell phone and maybe a razor or a curling iron or something like that, where trust me, you'll be glad that you brought 2. And we have a link in the description to ones that we have purchased from Amazon, so if you're interested, check it out.
And when I bought these, and I bought too many of them, I got teased for it. But then when we got to Paris, she used them.
I did. Yes, Tony is always over-prepared.
Over-prepared.
Which is a good thing. Tip number 6. This tip is basically for people who are traveling to Paris for the first time, or even anywhere in Europe for that matter.
Not just Europe, right? South America too. I think everywhere but North America, the ground floor is not the first floor. Okay, ground floor is 0. And this is particularly important in the older buildings in Europe, which many of them are, that don't have elevators. Very often you're going to go in a building that doesn't have an elevator. So if you're on the 4th floor, you're really on the 5th floor, and now you're walking up 5 flights of stairs. So keep in mind that floor 0 is the ground floor. Floor 1 is actually the 2nd floor.
And if you're someone who has knee issues or other health issues where it's important that you be on the ground level or not on too high of a floor, then this is absolutely something that you want to keep in mind.
Tip number 7 is one that's great if you're traveling with young people. If you're 26 or under and you have a student ID, you can get into most of the monuments for free, but you have to have your ID with you, so make sure you carry it.
Tip number 8. Tip number 8 is to be aware that there are many things that are free to us here in the US that are not free in Paris, in France, and in general. And what we're talking about here specifically are public restrooms.
And public restrooms there are not expensive. You just need to have a few coins with you, €1 or 2. If you go to the mall and you need to use the restroom, you have to pay for it. I remember going to Notre Dame and we had to pay for it. For that reason, they're generally much cleaner and much nicer than what we're used to here. But there's also public restrooms as you're just walking down the street. There might be a public restroom where you have to put a couple of coins in. So keep in mind that there's always a reason to have a few coins in your pocket. Restroom is a big one.
If not more than a few.
Yeah.
Because if you come across a street performer.
Right, exactly.
We love street performers and they're all over Paris. So you're going to want to have probably more than just a few coins on you at all times.
You don't want to be asking a street performer for change. So be sure to have a handful of coins in your pocket at all times.
And just really a quick note is that besides public restrooms not being free, shopping bags are not free either. And I know that this is starting to become more common here in the US, but it is definitely something that is more established in Paris and I think all of France, is that most people will bring carts or bring their own shopping bags, and if you need a shopping bag, no matter where you are, they're going to charge you for it.
So let's talk about something that's free. Tip number 9. Wi-Fi in Paris is generally free. You don't have to access a phone number or anything like that. Just wherever you are, Wi-Fi is easy to get on. So keep that in mind. You can get on your device pretty much anywhere in Paris.
And finally, tip number 10 is to remember that wherever you go in Paris, if it's into a shop, into a restaurant, into your hotel, and you see one of the employees, to always make sure you say bonjour.
And that really speaks to learning a few words of French, right? I think it's important for you to be gracious in the fact that we're visitors, we're not natives. So it's not up to them to change for us, we're changing for them. So let's be gracious and learn a few words. It just starts with bonjour. So that's it. Those are our 10 tips for visiting Paris. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the subscribe button.
And I'd just like to take a moment to thank our Patreon members, Anne, Sharon, and Debbie. Thank you so much for being a part of our Patreon family. And if you're interested in learning more about our Patreon membership, there's a link in the description.
Au revoir.
A biento.
Good morning.
Do I need to put a necklace on?
KJ is awfully serious today, as you can see by the look on her face. But I'm going to get her to laugh.
Do I need to put a necklace on?
It wouldn't hurt.
I'm like shiny.
Now that we've remembered to hit record, so there you have it. There are our 10 tips for visiting Paris. And if you enjoyed this same word.
Get it together, Mr. Foster.
So there you have it.
Wait, I was doing like an obnoxious smile.
Get in the game.
And finally, tip number 10 is to remember to always say bonjour whenever you go in. Did I say that right?
No, you're fine.
Oh, okay.
Just because I looked at you?
Yeah.
I'm admiring my wife.